Lego Batman. This is the third game from the publishers to take up a well-known franchise and Lego it up. The first Legoized game that I've ever played was the Indiana Jones trilogy version. But most people have probably played their first crack at the Legos formula with the Star Wars trilogy. I thought Lego Indiana Jones was fun and really entertaining, and this game is pretty much the same formula. This is the story of Batman, who is the world's greatest detective, and who goes crazy and decides to wear a mask and fight crime. This game is based on the cartoon series from the 90s, and in my opinion, the best Batman series ever made. They even recreate the opening of the TV series in Legos, which I thought was really cool. These Lego games had never had voiceovers to tell their stories. They use pantomimes, and you have to interpret what's going on. Now, normally you already know what the story is, and you can just enjoy the funny ways they tell the same story. But this game is different. It's based completely on the company's own stories, and this is definitely the weakest part of the whole game. They usually involve some simplified plot with multiple items to make it work. The plots are so dumb, they're almost insulting to the villains, since you know they would never have come up with such a stupid plan. The stories just don't work, none of them. They were funny to watch, but unlike the Star Wars and Lego Indiana Jones games, you will sometimes not be able to understand what's going on. There are 3 stories to play with 5 chapters in each one. While there are plenty of classic Batman villains to go up against, the main villains in the 3 stories are the Riddler, the Penguin, and the Joker. This is once again at heart a 2-player game. Sure, you can play with 1 player, but the game would rather be played with 2. You can tell with the brain-dead AI that they usually stick you with in these games. You play as Batman or Robin. It's interesting how the characters are portrayed in the cutscenes. Batman comes off as a tough guy who can handle himself in any situation. Unlike Robin, on the other hand, who comes off like a clumsy idiot who always makes stupid choices or is falling down all the time. You have to wonder why Batman even puts up with him. And Robin's also very weird. He gets grossed out when he has to watch Batman and Catwoman making out. And it was a hot scene. Who wouldn't want to watch that? The problem that I had with the story also applies to the levels themselves. Unlike the familiarity of the areas you're exploring in the previous titles, the levels won't endear you to them by making you remember a fun scene from one of the movies. The fun that I had with the previous game is gone when I was playing the levels, and that's a bit disappointing. The gameplay itself feels a little bit slippery, as you can easily fall off ledges or not quite make some of the jumps you're required to make. It doesn't really matter though, seeing how you have unlimited lives, so those faults seem like less of a problem. As you go through the levels, you're going to have to deal with the henchmen and puzzles to defeat and solve. They'll usually involve both team members to figure out the chapter's puzzles. They're still too easy to figure out, and since most of the puzzles are just variations on the same theme, you'll tend to figure them out fairly fast. They let you change your character's costume to do a specific task, like bombing silver Lego pieces or using magnetic shoes to walk up metal walls. When you do get past all the obstacles in your way, you have to fight a boss in the area, and they have quite a selection from the Batman universe to fight. You'll see a few familiar faces like Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, or even the lesser-known Killer Moth. To change up the chapters a little bit, each one of the stories has a driving or flying chapter. They are quick chapters where you have to use the Batmobile, Batboat, or Batwing. All the vehicles control well, but I think they took the concept a bit too far when they're playing the flying levels. They use obstacles that are blocking you from advancing in the level, but that doesn't work since any sane person would just fly above the obstacle and not try to figure out some contrived way to unblock their path. However, the programmers must have realized this since you can't adjust your altitude, which I think is a bit cheap. After you complete one of the stories, another play option becomes available. You can play the game from the villain's perspective, and I think this is easily the best part of this game. I'm not talking about redoing all the levels you did just with different characters. These are mostly new levels, and that takes the total levels in this game to 30, and that's amazing. It was great playing as Clayface. He could throw cars fairly easily, and he could double jump to areas you normally couldn't get to. And that's just one example. Each of the villains have their own tricks that they could use to accomplish their goals. The game has all the normal staples of the series to extend the gameplay. Hidden bat symbols, hidden money, and areas to find. Plus there are people to save if you choose to. So there's easily 20 hours of content in this game. Lego Batman didn't hook me right away like Lego Indiana Jones because of the story and mostly unremarkable levels. But as I stuck with it, I found an engaging game with some fun and varied gameplay. So I could definitely recommend this game. Buy it now.